to Plus One Forward, the podcast powered by the Apocalypse, where we talk about tabletop role-playing games using or inspired by the Apocalypse engine. I'm your MC, Rich, and I'm joined by my guest, Michael Sands of Generic Games. Hey, Michael, welcome to the show.
Hi, Rich. Thanks for asking me on.
Oh, excited to have you on. Now, I'm curious, Michael, how long have you been playing Powered by the Apocalypse games? What was your gateway?
It was Apocalypse World. So right from when it first came out, I kind of remember seeing people starting to talk about it who'd been in the beta and doing playtests of it, and slowly got more and more interested and finally thought, oh hell, it's Vincent Baker, I'll just pre-order it. Got it, and like within a few weeks I was involved in 2 different games of it, one running, one playing, so right from then.
Nice. Do you remember what your first character was?
Battle Babe in this kind of Mad Max wasteland, but rainy as well, so mud rather than dust.
Ooh, nice.
And that character, he had a terrible time trying to exert any control on the world around him at all.
Well, I mean, Battle Babes just survive. They don't actually, control anything, right?
Yeah, but that's what he wanted to do, even if he failed. Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Well, let's roll over and read a Sitch here.
Okay.
Read a Sitch. Michael, I understand that you'd like to talk a little bit about snowballing moves, that kind of move-to-move snowball, and how that can change the game in the fiction. What's your thoughts along those lines?
Well, I kind of feel like that's the key cool thing about Powered by the Apocalypse games and how moves work. It's that whatever happens with the roll and however it turns out, you're going to end up with something new in the fiction, opening up new areas of play, and whether it's good or bad, it's going to be something cool coming on and happening. And I think a lot of people kind of look at the details of moves, but I think it's that capacity to open up new areas that's kind of the most interesting bit, rather than exactly which things you pick within the written down moves in the various games. Does that make sense?
Can you tease that out? What's an example of when somebody's chosen a move and what kind of fiction it's opened up in games that you've played?
Actually, a recent example I've went through in our Night Witches game, we had a couple of our airwomen we just moved to a new base.
Mm-hmm.
We were wanting to explore the area and find out a little bit about where we were. I think we were in Poland at the time. 2 of us went out scrounging for food and got very different results on the scrounge roll. But that opened up this whole other plot line where we found this group of Polish resistance members or bandits or something, it wasn't even very clear, hiding out in the woods near us. And that kind of had repercussions for a few sessions down the line, and it had come out of just this one roll that went badly, and the GM said, yeah, you meet these guys in the woods. And there was a whole range of things that followed on from it. And I think it's that unpredictability of, you think you're doing one thing, we're just going to go out, see if we can buy some stuff off the locals, and then it turns into this ongoing plot line that had repercussions quite a long way down after that.
And this was from a success or a failed move?
It was a 7 to 9, I think.
Oh, neat.
So the in-between one where we kind of found what we wanted, but also there was this other stuff going on. Yeah.
Very cool.
The same thing can come from a success or a failure as well, because it's all down to how the other people react to it, whether it's the MC looking up their list of moves and picking one that suddenly they go, oh, this would be cool, or if it's someone else, their response to what you did, another of the players, can always kind of open that out.
I enjoy that in Apocalypse World or Apocalypse Engine games, how the 7 to 9 can open up the field or take you in interesting directions you may not have been headed towards.
Yeah.
Failures don't just shut down the play and say, well, you either got to wait X amount of time and retry or, find some other way.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Now, you've been playing Night Witches pretty recently.
That's right.
How has that play gone? You just finished up a campaign of it?
Yeah, we finished up about 2 months ago. We took some airwomen all the way through the war. It was a really satisfying game. I think it took us about 8 or 9 months to play through completely. We tried the suggestion of when you change bases, you switch GMs, which worked really well, gave each place its own little flavour. And we had a lot of fun, like following those stories down. I say fun. I mean, the stories often were pretty horrible stories, but
Yeah.
but it was exciting, and it's a very tense version of the system because the dangers are huge in there. But yeah, it was a great game overall. So thanks, Jason, if you're listening, putting that together.
I hope so. How was the contrast? The day and the night seems like it's the flavor of the day and the night is very strong. What are some of your observations about that?
Well, the way it ended up working for us is like the daytime was very character driven. All of the airwomen had their own things they needed to do, whether it was recovering from the previous night's missions or dealing with their personal issues and relationships or just wanting to help out some of the others. So it was a lot of people doing all sorts of different things on their own. But then the night missions, they're very mechanically set. There's not a lot of choice about what you do. I mean, you can kind of pick your role on the mission, but how the mission will play out is a lot more set. And I found that contrast, I think it helps the game a lot because it does allow you to deepen your the character of the airwomen in the daytime. And then each night they've got these missions where that's like life and death all the time. Yeah. Not sure there's more to say there. I think that it's that contrast of the character-driven daytime where you can do whatever you want versus you don't have a lot of choice and everything's on the line of the night is, I think, a key thing in Night Witches. And it really worked out well in play.
I've always been curious about Night Witches in a campaign, like how much those missions control the game and the story. Like in a lot of Apocalypse Engine games, you see like it's pretty freewheeling, right?
Yeah.
It's a little improv-y. You can kind of go wherever you want. But in Night Witches, it really is rational. You've got a mission.
Yeah.
You need to do the mission. That's the thing you do.
Yeah, and like how much it affected the daytime was quite variable. Like if your mission went really badly, then the next day is all dealing with that fallout.
Right.
Finding new planes, getting people to hospital, getting back from behind enemy lines, perhaps. So it does have an effect on the other thing, but it's not something you can back off from.
Nice.
But I think that having the daytime missions being character-driven balances that out, though. I think if it was just the missions you had no choice about, it would not be a fun game.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that counterbalance. Thanks for pointing that out. Well, awesome. Let's go open our brain to this Monster of the Week thing I've heard about.
Sure.
Open your brain. All right. The first time I ever heard about your stuff was when you released this Monster of the Week thing way back in the day. This was one of the early Apocalypse Engine games, like one of the first, right?
Yeah. I think Monster Hearts beat me out, but I think I was second, and then Dungeon World was right after.
Tell me about Monster of the Week. What's the setting? What is this thing?
Okay, it's modern-day monster hunting, specifically like you see in TV shows like Supernatural and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Ever since a friend lent me the first season of the Supernatural DVDs, which I missed when they were first on, but I fell in love with that and thought, I've never yet found a really satisfying role-playing game that captures this. I mean, it's a pretty obvious setting for them, but all the ones I'd come across didn't quite work for me. So I sat down and started trying to build one that would do that. And that's been something that had been going on for some time before Apocalypse World came out. And then when Apocalypse World came out, I played my 2 games of that right away. And I suddenly realised there were like 2 or 3 big problems that I'd been struggling with of how to deal with them in Monster of the Week. And the way Apocalypse World handled things was like, that's the way to do it. So it was kind of opening up my mind. You know, I can handle things in this kind of way, and it'll work. And it did take quite a bit more than just that to get them working, but they got there in the end.
What are the mechanics that are different in this game versus kind of your base Apocalypse World type game?
It's pretty close to Apocalypse World. Like you say, it was one of the first ones, and like these days, the people have done a whole bunch of other stuff with it, which is pretty incredible. But back then, there was less experimentation, and we were all still kind of feeling our way out. So a lot of it's pretty similar. You can kind of map a lot of my basic moves to the original ones. and some of the character moves as well. But yeah, the big things that I changed, I think, like you say, luck is one of them, which I'll get back to. I think the other one's the way injuries and harm are handled. And that's because I wanted the kind of TV show style where when you're fighting a monster, it's really dangerous and you could die. But in a TV show, like later on in the episode, the character's still got to be able to do stuff. So your monster hunters bounce back from damage pretty quick, even if it's really dangerous in the moment, which is something that in Apocalypse World, if you get badly injured, you're out of action for quite a while. That's quite a big deal for the style of, try and get one mystery done each session of play. You go in, investigate, find the monster and defeat it, and done. So that's in there for that. Now, luck is, it's also related to that TV hero thing. Sam and Dean on Supernatural, they always manage to find a way to come back. And so luck is your get out of jail free. You can start with a certain number of them, and they will give you a free automatic success on a roll or avoid an injury completely. And that's basically so you've got a resource. If you roll badly and the monster's about to kill you, you can get out of it. But it's also, it doesn't replenish very much. I think most people can only ever recover 1 point of it. As your hunter's career goes on, slowly they're going to use up all that luck, and eventually they're going to get to a point where they don't have any get out of jail free cards anymore, and they've got to think, do I still want to be a monster hunter? Or is it safer for me to retire and hand it on to someone else? Or do I still have things that I need to deal with to stay in this game?
Nice.
That's also an important thing for the kind of pushing a certain character arc. And you see it in the shows too, like Bobby in Supernatural is clearly, he's been around a long time and he's not a very active monster hunter anymore. And it feels to me like, that's that. He's almost out of his luck when we first meet him. And he's going to step back a bit from the really dangerous stuff.
Yeah, getting some hard hits when that luck's gone.
Yeah. So I think those are probably the key differences that really push Monster of the Week into a totally different area to Apocalypse World. Because Apocalypse World, it always feels like it's about the scarcity of resources and trying to control things so that you can make a better world.
Right.
There's a lot of stuff in the game pushing you to those questions. But Monster of the Week, it's about fighting monsters and defeating them. And as you go on, you'll get to explore, what will the hunters do in difficult situations, and begin to explore kind of extra moral dimensions. Like, say you're hunting a werewolf, and werewolves in your world turn out to be normal people most of the time. Do you kill them? Do you find some way to cure them or limit the danger they put people in? And it's kind of that kind of moral choice which I think will slowly evolve as you play that really is the key problem of Monster of the Week.
Now, one of the things that I find most interesting about Monster of the Week that when I play it with people in their first time through, they'll always ask, now, one of these basic moves says use magic, but my guy isn't a spell slinger or anything like that. So what does that mean? It's a basic move that you can use magic in this game, right?
Yeah, I must say that is probably the most asked question of Monster Week. And yeah, it is. It's anyone can use a magic. Anyone can cast a spell. And again, this is getting back to Supernatural and Buffy. Those guys, when they discover they need to cast a spell to get the bad guy, they can do it. It's there for, if you need to banish a ghost, you're a monster hunter, you'll know some way to do it. And the use magic move's there for that. Of course, it's magic, so it's going to be a bit spooky. So use magic has got a lot of downsides if you don't roll so well, which again is magic is kind of moving into the monster's territory, so I think it should be a bit dangerous.
What is your favorite move and why?
My favourite move in Monster of the Week is actually one of the kind of peripheral ones. It's the Resurrection move, which is when you come back from the dead, which is obviously, again, from the source material. Both Buffy and Sam and Dean have come back from the dead a few times.
Wait, Sam and Dean come back from the dead? What?
I think that's enough seasons ago, it's not a real spoiler.
No, I'm just joking. They've all come back from the end like 2-3 times.
Yeah, I know. What, season 2, the first one? I can't even remember. Yeah. So it's a move 4 when you come back from the dead. And the weirder you are, the more chance of something spooky happening there'll be. So weird's the magic and psychic powers thing. So the weird characters are more likely to have problems. And pretty much anything, you'll always be changed by it. And often there'll be something bad or a complication associated with coming back. So maybe you bring back a monster with you, or it will permanently change your personality, or something like that. And, I don't think it's a move that gets used that often. But I put it in the book just so it's in people's minds that this is the game where you could come back from the dead, and it will be complicated and a bit spooky when you do. And I think that putting that in people's minds, it's part of that job you have as a game designer of kind of pointing people to the sort of game experience that it's designed for, right?
Right.
So that's my favourite move of the Monster of the Week.
I have never I've never had a character die in Monster of the Week. The luck, I've had unluck in that I've never played long enough for luck to run out. So
yeah,
I look forward to that.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
I've certainly killed a few characters in play because I've played a lot of convention games, of course, and I usually limit people down to just 2 or 3 luck in those. So yeah, there's been a few deaths in there. Haven't had anyone actually come back as well in the same session, though. That would be pretty cool.
That would be cool. Well, Michael, you got me pretty excited about this. I was wondering, do you think maybe you could run me through a little Monster of the Week?
Sure. I've got a little bit of a scenario here for you. We can try it out.
It is time to act under fire.
You're in a small town, right? There's some weird stuff that's been happening here. There's been some disappearances. And you've come along as a monster hunter. I don't know, do you pretend to be an authority figure, maybe? Or pretend to be a reporter? Or just nose around and hope the cops don't see you?
I've got this fake ID. I'm basically Homeland Security.
Right. Okay, so you show your ID to the local police. And they let you into this crime scene that you want to check out. And there's a body there. A regular person. She's dead, but there's no obvious injuries or cause of death. What there is here and there on her skin there's some blue goo or something, maybe an ointment, or it doesn't look like she's been dead long enough for it to be a fungus growing on her or anything. It's pretty strange.
Obvious signs of death? How did she die, or how does everyone think she died?
There's no sign. At the moment, there's a crime scene investigator who's photographing everything. The cop who brought you in seems a little intimidated by the Homeland Security badge, but he says it's still pretty preliminary. We're not sure what happened here yet. The body was found this morning by some kids who were hanging out in this alleyway. We're hoping to get the medical examiner in pretty soon to see what actually happened.
Good. Make sure you question those kids. Any weird smells, anything that they might have seen before they came upon the body.
Smells, you say?
Yeah, smells. This could be a chemically induced death. And you see the blue residue. We want to make sure that there isn't any problems with terrorism here.
Okay. Yeah. The guy's suddenly looking a little more worried than he was a moment ago. Yeah. Okay. Well, now this is one of the key moves. This is time to investigate a mystery where we'll roll.
All right. Let's do that.
We'll add your sharp.
I haven't have a +1 in sharp here on +1 forward.
Sure. So, right. So roll a couple of dice and add that +1.
All right. I just rolled a 4 and a 5 with my +1. That is a 10.
Okay, so that gives you a hold of 2, which you can use as we play through this scene of checking out the body.
Okay.
Where you can ask some questions about what's been going on. Do you have the questions in front of you, or shall I run through them?
I do. All right, so first question, as I look around the body, and I've got a couple of the medical gloves and a couple of surgical gloves there. I don't want to be touching this stuff, but I am going to be touching this stuff once I have those gloves on. Smell it a little bit. What happened here?
Okay. As you kind of go in, do you have something to probe the goo with, or are you just going to take a look?
Oh, I put on a couple of surgical gloves.
Oh, you're going to poke it with
I'm actually
glove?
touching the goo and kind of trying to feel what it feels like.
Okay, as you poke it, you can see that it's not actually sitting on her skin. It's kind of like part of her skin's transformed into this goo.
Ooh.
And the bit on your finger where you poked it, the surgical glove's getting a bit discoloured there.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I will remove that glove.
Okay, as you pull it off and put it on the ground, you can see it's almost like an acid type of erosion thing going on as that stuff eats into the latex, I guess, of the glove.
Oh, that's gross. Huh. Kind of glance over at the cob.
The photographer comes down and takes a photo of your glove as it's slowly dissolving.
Oh, man. What sort of creature is this?
Okay, what sort of creature is it? From what you can see here, it's difficult to be sure, of course. I mean, you've only seen this goo. What you can tell is that this is not any kind of fungus or bacterial infection you've come across before. This is not a normal thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe like some kind of alien life form or something from another dimension.
Oh, excellent. That's exactly what I want to deal with. I guess I really am working for Homeland Security.
The police officer comes over, takes a look at your dissolving glove and says, "Shall we break out the hazardous materials gear from back at the station?"
Yes. Yes. Definitely grab some hazmat. This does appear to be pretty acidic, and at this point I'm probably going to try to keep in touch with him, give him a card, but extricate myself from being involved in this being taped off, and yeah.
Sure. Okay, well, he gets on the radio and gets his other officers on the way, and yeah, they all back off away from that for now. Okay, next step on your investigation. Where do you go from there?
Well, I'd like to... So we've got... I didn't ask any of other questions, I only had the two.
Yeah.
So, I'd like to try to find out some more information about this victim.
Right.
Is there something special about them that caused this attack? Or was this a place-based thing where they just stumbled into something in this alley?
Okay. So that's going to take a little bit of asking around, but given your fake ID, you're going to be able to get the answers from the police pretty easily. So yeah, it turns out she is a biochemist who works at the local university campus. No police record or anything. Seems like just a normal person.
Well, I think then I'm going to head straight to the chem lab. That sounds pretty good. Maybe she's developed some new crazy chemistry set thing.
Okay. You head down to her office, or lab, I guess. Her office is empty, but the lab she's working in, it's down the hall, is not empty. There are a couple of younger people, maybe research assistants or students, in there, and they've got a big array of machinery. It's like not the sort of thing you'd expect in a chemistry lab. This looks like giant lasers and stuff. Big kind of heavy physics type machinery in there.
I'll walk in, look around. Hey.
One of the people in there says, yeah, can I help you?
Yeah. My name's Bob. Bob Plusnikov. Homeland Security.
Okay.
What are you guys working on here?
It's kind of, and he starts into a big description of something with a lot of jargon, which I'm not sure, do you know much about, like, weird, far fringe science stuff? I'm trying to work out how much you'll pick up from this. You know much about that?
Probably not going to pick up a whole lot. I'm a little bit of a con man type that just happened to find out these nasty things.
Okay, so I think the bits of jargon that stand out that you think you can place, there's something about like hidden dimensions and effects on living matter, and there's definitely some lasers in there.
All right.
But overall, you have no idea what he's talking about.
Are you aware that a member of the staff, the faculty, passed away this morning?
He says no. The other assistant in there looks up at you. She looks a bit shocked as well. Who?
Dr. Sally Green. Her body was found at 5th and Elm. And she had a residue, an acidic residue on her skin.
For the moment, both of them seem pretty just shocked to hear this sudden news of her death. So they kind of don't pay attention as you talk about the residue. After a few moments, they've calmed down enough that you can check that out. And the guy who talked to you first says, "A blue residue, you say?" And he kind of gestures you over, and they've got a kind of isolation chamber thing with some machinery aimed at it. And inside there's a couple of petri dishes which have got this blue stuff growing on them.
Interesting. Are those acidic?
Yes, a little bit, he says.
Okay.
They like to consume a lot of materials we've put them on. The glass there seems pretty safe, but most things it eats up right away.
Now, Dr. Green, was she experimenting with this, I assume, recently?
Yeah, this is her project. Her and Dr. Vargo from physics.
Dr. Vargo, where's he at? Can you lead me to his office?
Oh, sure. I guess we better tell him too.
Yes, exactly. Right.
Okay, they take you over to Dr. Vargo's office, which is, the door's standing open, and the place is a big mess. He's not here, obviously, and it looks like someone's come in and like ransacked it for certain books and papers.
Mm-hmm.
There's a space for a laptop on the desk, but it's not there.
I'll look to the assistant. I assume he doesn't normally keep his office like this.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, he's not the tidiest guy, but this is abnormal.
The machinery? Help me out. That doesn't look like the normal level of machinery we would have at a small college. Are you guys getting some kind of big backing from some pharmaco? How did you end up on this project?
Well, Dr. Vargo asked me, and I'm afraid I can't tell you anything about our funders. There's an NDA.
Right. Did you see this badge?
Well, it was a very specific agreement.
Right. Dr. Green's dead. Dr. Vargo's missing.
Okay, this seems like you're trying to get him. You're trying to manipulate him into telling you what's going on. Him. So why don't you go ahead and roll and add your charm?
Okay, here we go. I've got a +1 charm. Surprise, surprise. Here we go. That is a 2 plus a 3, which is a 5. +1 is 6. I have failed.
Okay. He says, "Look, unless you can give me like a security clearance level, I can't tell you anything."
Wow. All right. So both of the people that you've worked for, one is dead, one is missing, and you're hiding behind this? Yeah, just give me a name. I won't tell anyone, but point me in the right direction here.
He thinks pretty hard for a moment. "Look, I didn't say it, but Colonel Winchester at the Air Force Base over there. That's all I can say."
That's all I need. So, we'll kind of fast forward to me driving up to the Air Force Base. This is crazy. I'll give a call back to the police department, see if they've gotten any more information. I don't imagine they're going to have any more leads.
No, they say they've finished checking out the crime scene, and they're taking the body back to the medical examiner's offices now for autopsy.
You know, actually, I think Plusakov here has an idea.
Sure.
He's going to blow up the lab.
Okay.
Yeah, because going against an Air Force base versus blowing up a lab and just leaving town?
That's certainly a way to deal with it.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen. So, yeah, I'm going to requisition some materials and try to blow up that lab.
Okay. I think it sounds like you're someone who knows how to get explosives. So that's fine with me. So you go back to the university. You tell the remaining assistant to clear out, I guess.
Yes, I do give him
You plant your explosives. I guess you're going to pull the fire alarm on the building or something. I'm assuming you don't want collateral damage.
Oh, yeah. I come in, I tell him this has been shut down. I've got clearance that, you can go ahead and reach out to your Air Force buddy. That's no problem. But we're going to shut this down so nothing further happens at this point. Kick him out, pull the fire alarm, drop the explosives, and get back out of Dodge.
And we'll go kaboom. That university building. Bam. Let's finish with a scene of you, like, speeding out of town before any of the consequences of this catch up with you.
Definitely.
On the little welcome to Sunny Valley sign, there's just a little bit of blue goo in the corner there, I think.
Oh, Plezikov, you did not quite solve that one.
No.
Oh, that was great. Michael, thank you so much for running a little bit. And thanks for coming on Plus One Forward. I really appreciate it.
No, it's good to talk about it. And thanks for having me.
Plus One Forward is a production of the Gauntlet community and Richard Rogers. You can find us on gauntlet-rpg.com or follow us on Twitter at GauntletRPG. The games mentioned on this show use the Apocalypse engine, which is a creation of Vincent and McGay Baker. The music for Plus One Forward is from the Savage Arl Hotbed CD Gomi Daiko. The songs used are Gomi Daiko Metal version and Process. You can find more amazing tunes by Savage Arl Hotbed on their website, savagearlhotbed.com.